This is Joy News Prime, live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 125, and on myjoyonline.com, and also on our social media handles. I am Samuel Kojo Brace. In our headlines, this are tonight, NDC minority in Parliament to introduce private members' bill to repeal a raft of taxes, including the e-levy that the Vice President committed to abolish if he is elected President, as a move to test Dr. Bawumia's sincerity. Now, the Executive Director of the African Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Raman, is urging Parliament to show its resolve in enforcing its own standing orders in the wake of the near showdown between Asin Central MP Kennedy Japan and Sylvester Tete of Botiano Englishi Amanfro. And also, MPs ask National Security and Water Resources Ministry to deploy water tankers to Tamale as the metropolis suffers acute water shortage, describing it as a humanitarian crisis. It was a bold declaration from a sitting Vice President and Chairman of the Economic Management Team, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, to abolish a raft of taxes introduced by his government under his watch if elected President. Well, tonight the MPP minority, the NDC minority in Parliament, is set to test sincerity of his intention by presenting a private member's bill in the House to abolish the taxes. This, according to the minority leader, Dr. K.C. Latoforsen, is to test whether the Vice President can get his MPP side to back such a bill. He was speaking in a yet-to-be-aired edition of PM Express with Evans Mensah.
Vice President, we all know today, he's the second in command in the President Akufo-Addo's government. Second in command. He acts as president when the president is out of the country. He is the leader of the MPP, the ruling party. If you so desires and want this bill, this tax removed, you should do it now.
He still hasn't
to prove to the people of Ghana that the leader of the MPP, the governing MPP party,
the party is not a government.
Oh, the leader, the governing MPP party.
The executive president takes.
Let me tell you.
The final decision.
Let me tell you.
He is not.
He cannot hoodwink the people of Ghana on the back of his stories. We've had enough. We've had enough of this. And in the coming days, I'll tell you what we are going to do. We will get someone probably to bring a private member's bill to get these taxes removed and see if the MPP will support it.
Which of them? Let's list them. E-levy?
A number of the taxes, emission levy that we voted for, and some of the VAT, the betting tax and all of that. And so we should remove the tax on betting and allow the betting industry and find better ways. If you want to regulate it as such.
I'm curious about this announcement you've made about your plan to have the bills repealed.
Yes.
I mean, because it's currently law which has been implemented. Why now?
Okay, so the Vice President has signaled to us that they don't want these taxes. That's what he said. And we saw their MPs in favor of these taxes, in favor of the Vice President's position. We heard them. We saw some of them. So we want to test whether it is genuine. And so we'll bring the bill before Parliament and we'll get them to vote for or vote against it, and we'll see how it works.
But he says we'll do it next year.
Why next year? Let me tell you, Evans, the people of Ghana cannot wait and go through this kind of excruciating hardships. We are suffering. I come from a rural community. My constituents are struggling. They are going through difficult times on the back of some of these taxes. Remove the betting tax now. Remove the emission levy now. Remove the e-levy now. Now, e-levy. Even if you send 50 Ghana cedis, they will deduct it. Even if you transfer money from your own wallet to another wallet of yours, they will deduct it. Contrary to what the law is saying. Contrary to the MPP's own, promise to the people of Ghana. They should remove it now.
Well, the full interview is tonight on PM Express at 9 p.m. Well, let's still stay in Parliament because the Executive Director for the African Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Raman, is calling on Parliament to show its resolve in enforcing its own standing orders to ensure that it exhibits trust in its own rules. Now, he is urging MPs to draw the attention of the Speaker to developments that are unparliamentary. His comments come on the back of the near fisticuffs in Parliament on Tuesday between Member of Parliament for Asin Central, Kennedy Ohene Japan, and his New Patriotic Party MP colleague, Sylvester Tete of Botiano English Amanfro, over what we understand had to do with non-payment of a debt. This happened at the blind side of the First Deputy Speaker, Joe Osei-Wusu, who was presiding and got the attention of journalists and those in the public gallery. It took the intervention of Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin to walk out with Sylvester Tete and forestall any fisticuffs between the two. Let's get more into this development by speaking to our parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante on this. Kweku, what have we gotten on this issue since it broke out? I mean, what caused all of this?
Well, like you said, the information we are picking is that this has to do with some unpaid debt owed Kennedy Japan by the English Botiano Amanfrom MP. We do not have any much more details because as of yet, we have not been able to speak to the two members of parliament at the center of this. The other people who can give you some authoritative details in terms of what exactly happened is Alexander Afenyo-Markin, who is determined not to speak to any journalist on this issue because he considers this an internal matter, a house matter that he is dealing with. And so, like you see in the video, you see Kennedy Japan there in his chair, very frustrated, speaking out there against Sylvester Tete. Sylvester Tete had come to the leadership bench, he had spoken to another emperor and others for a minute or so, and attempted to leave. And then Kennedy Japan accosted him right in the middle of the NPP pews, pointed at him, they were exchanging words. Sitting was still ongoing at the time. In fact, at the point, the member of parliament for Asukwa was on her feet, contributing to a statement that had been made in parliament at the time. And she was also visibly confused because she did not know whether she was taking a seat, whether she was going to speak into the mic and draw the speaker's attention to what exactly was happening. And so she went on, but you could see that she was stuttering at some point because she had lost her train of thought. And those two MPs were exchanging words. They came so close to a point where they could nearly trade blows. And then, like you see in the video, Alexander Afenyo-Markin come in immediately, stands between the two men, walks out with the member of parliament for English, Botiano Amanfrom, to try and calm tempers. Kennedy Japan comes back to his seat. He is visibly frustrated, still throws his hands about, and you would hear him in the press gallery talk about, you are a small boy, who do you think you are? You know, that kind of language. And then your Kaikwe Central Member of Parliament, Patrick Boama, who is one of the few members of Parliament on the NPP side who can actually go to Kennedy Japan and talk to him, goes to him, try and calm him down. Eventually, Kennedy Japan is calm. Eventually, the two sides have smoked the peace pipe. The majority leader, the deputy majority leader who was able to break the two apart, has called them to his office later on the day. They trashed out whatever issue there is. They will not speak to the media except to tell us that, as far as they are concerned, this was an internal matter that they've been able to deal with. So, Kennedy Japan has been, before you move on, has been like one of the members of parliament that is very difficult for the leadership on his side to deal with. In fact, there are very few members of parliament on the majority side can go and talk to him, especially because they did not back his presidential bid. And so whenever he comes in, he speaks to very few NPP MPs, and sometimes confrontational. Last meeting, we reported about a member of parliament who went to Kennedy Japan to greet him, and Kennedy Japan just snubbed him like that. And so today, it was one of those days that people have described as an embarrassing day in the history of parliament. That this was happening right in the middle of the house. The deputy speaker was presiding, did not react to it, and eventually this has just gone to bar. And in terms of the parliamentary rules, this will be taken as though it didn't happen because it will be absent in the rules tomorrow. The votes and proceedings will not have it.
Yes, all the other MPs, since the leadership are not speaking, all the other MPs are not also reacting on this. Have they said anything on it?
Well, in Parliament, normally they like to protect their own, as they like to say. When it comes to the majority side, we understand there's a gag order. There's an order from the top that, listen, this is an internal matter that we want to deal with, and so don't go to any journalist and speak with them. And so I've been able to go to so many PMPs that I'm very close with to try and get an understanding of what is happening. They are only willing to provide the information off the record, but they are not going to speak to you on the record to give you what exactly might have happened and all that. So that is the majority side. You would have expected that the minority MPs would have larged on it, probably raised the issue on the floor, because when it happened, almost everybody that mattered in the minority was there. The minority that was there. The whips were all there. They did not raise it. Outside of the floor, they do not also want to speak about it because, of course, Kennedy Japan is at the center of this. It's a bit controversial, but he also has deep connection, deep friendship with a number of MPs on both sides of the aisle. And so the view that is being put across in Parliament is that this is one of our own. This is an internal matter. Let us deal with it. So it's been so difficult getting any MP to go on the record.
Okay, all right. So that's Kweku Asante from Parliament today. Now let's bring in someone with in-depth understanding of what happens in Parliament. Dr. Rashid Raman is the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, SEPA, and he joins us via Zoom with some perspective. Doc, I'm grateful for joining us. First off, what makes this unparliamentary?
You know, what makes it unparliamentary is, the visuals that we are seeing. I mean, nobody needs to say that this is not parliamentary because what we wanted to show us on your screens is members of parliament seated as the honorable member is doing right now on their seats and dealing with the matters of our republic. They pass laws, and these laws are laws that are supposed to tell all of us that, the best way to resolve our differences is, to use the law that they make for us and not to resort in anything that is outside of the law. And so when you have members of parliament trying to settle their differences in a way that is contrary to the laws and the norms that they set for us as a society, then I think the question ought to be asked whether really they are carrying the title honorable that we all accord to them.
Okay.
So for me, I think that is where the difficulty is. And I hear your correspondent talking about the fact that, members of parliament don't want to talk about this, particularly those from the majority side, saying that this is an internal matter. I think I beg to differ. I mean, we have elected these people, they are public officials, and we all look up to them to resolve, the many differences that we have in this country. And so when this is in the full glare of the media, and all Ghanaians can see this, then somebody gets up and say this is an internal matter. I think I beg to differ.
Okay.
And then the second point related to this is the fact that, we have seen over the years that when it comes to, holding their own to account, Parliament has had a lot of difficulty. Time and time again, we've seen the Privileges Committee sit on matters that border on people conducting themselves not in a parliamentary manner. But I don't know whether you have any record. I don't, in terms of whether any member of parliament has ever been sanctioned, not only in this parliament, but in all previous parliaments, which leads some of us to say, if they are unable to hold one of their own accountable for their conduct, perhaps we should have a group of eminent Ghanaians who will be tasked with the responsibility of, enforcing some of these codes in terms of how our members of parliament behave, because that's very important. I mean, they need to earn our trust. And you see, poll after poll, if you look at Afrobarometer, you look at all polls about who, citizens trust, usually members of parliament don't fare very well.
Okay.
And
Okay.
It's quite unfortunate.
But so going forward, what would be your recommendation as to how some of these and anything that can happen like this in future can be curtailed?
Well, I think we now have new standing orders, and I am hopeful that, the courage and the will that the leadership of Parliament and the Speaker mustered to make sure that we now have these new standing orders, which have some new provisions in terms of how to deal with matters that are unparliamentary. I just hope that, they don't make the words and the sentences in those standing orders become just mere words.
Okay.
I hope that the leadership will muster the courage to ensure that at least for once we'll begin to see some implementation of the codes that they have developed for themselves to regulate their own behavior.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us here. Now, we do know that the two sides, that's the two members of Parliament, Kennedy Japon and Sylvester Tete, have reconciled, and we have visuals of what transpired after, that near clash in Parliament.
You know what? Godfather. Godfather. You guys it's okay. You know what? Godfather. Godfather. You guys
So in that visual, you saw the Deputy Majority Leader, Fenyo Makin, together with Sylvester Tete and Kennedy Japon reconciling there. Let's still stay in Parliament because members of Parliament are making an appeal to the National Security and the Ministry of Water Resources to deploy water tankers to Tamale, which is suffering acute water shortages. MP for Tamale South, Harun Idrisu, who made an urgent statement on the floor of the House, explained that schools and hospitals are the worst affected, with some communities in the Tamale metropolis having not to have access to water for months.
And the matter relates to an acute water shortage in Tamale, a crisis that affects the daily lives of our constituents in the greater Tamale metropolis and its environs. And the acute water shortage has gripped our city, leaving our beloved people parched and desperate. Mr. Speaker, that has occasioned some immense hardship and impacting negatively on every aspect of life in the Tamale city, whether from Buchatua, Kudula, through Lameshego, through Sanarago, through Kobremagu, Kuku, or whether through Kotonle, or Palsi, or Sakasaka, or Sognail, or Sabonjira, the problem remains the same. And our people are seen carrying what is popularly known as the Kufuor gallons in search for water. Mr. Speaker, many of the communities have not even seen pipe-borne water in the last few years. In some areas for 2 years, no pipe flowing. And many of the rural areas, such as Toto, Yapala, Zo, Nantonzo, Kapaile, have to rely on dam water in order to be able to access potable water. Mr. Speaker, almost all the Tamale water projects have suffered delays. I do know that government came in with some 272 million euro assurance that there will be further development on the Bywater International Limited water project, which was at Dalang, and to move it to Yapi so that access could be expanded even to affect areas like Damangu. Mr. Speaker, Tamale is fast growing and is considered one of the fastest growing cities in West Africa and is becoming a major problem for many of us members of parliament in that particular area. Mr. Speaker, accordingly, I want to government to consider declaring Tamale a water scarce zone, allocate emergency resources to address the immediate needs of residents in the Tamale metropolis, and then deploy emergency water relief supply. Even if the Ghana Water Company can ration water around the community, it may alleviate the suffering of the people. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the water shortage in Tamale is a humanitarian crisis demanding urgent attention by government.
Well, the other MPs in Metropolis, MP for Tamale Central, Mutala Mohammed, and MP for Tamale North, Al-Hassan Sohieni, argued that the Metropolis has been expanding significantly, but without adequate provisions to expand the water supply system.
Mr. Speaker, the challenges confronting Tamale South is not different from the challenges confronting the other three constituencies in Tamale, particularly on the issue of water. Mr. Speaker, this problem has been with us for some time now, and as the Honourable Member stated, it has affected every aspect of the life of the people living in Tamale. Students now go to school very late because they find it extremely difficult to access water. The metropolis is expanding day by day, yet the source or the sources of water for domestic use within the metropolis is still the same.
The problem is made worse by the water table in the region. So for us, representatives of the people, we sometimes get to our wits' end when the problem is brought before us and assistance is being sought from us. Clearly, the Ghana Water Company complains about the production capacity of the company and the fact that the only source of water, the Nauni for now, is not enough to meet the growing demand of water as the city expands.
It has also emerged at the Public Accounts Committee sitting today that government invested $12 million in setting up the controversial Ejapa mineral royalties in 2020. The minerals trading vehicle, which was established as a special purpose vehicle for trading mineral resources on behalf of government, came under serious public criticism from civil society organizations who raised questions of transparency and viability of the venture, leading to its suspension. It emerged at the Public Accounts Committee sitting during the hearing of the Minerals Income Investment Fund that $12 million was spent on consultancy, office space, and other initial preparations leading to the setup. Listen to Chief Executive Officer of the fund, Edward Nanaya Okuranting.
Which is a royalties company and fully owned by the Mineral Investment Fund. As honorable members are aware, this was put on hold. The main reason for Ejapa was to have the IPO done, both in England and Ghana. But for quite a number of factors or reasons, the president advised that this be put on hold. So Ejapa is on hold at the moment. We are not proceeding as of now. With regards to...
a follow-up to that.
Yes.
Has the MIF made any investment or no expenses in relation to the setup of the Ejapa?
Yes, Honorable Chair. Definitely, because this was an IPO, and as honorable members are aware, for every IPO, consultants, etc. come in. The establishment of an office in the United Kingdom and also in Ghana, etc., come into place. So there have been expenses. The whole idea was for MIF to be reimbursed after the IPO. But as the IPO is now suspended, until that suspension is lifted, we can't move on with Ejapa.
How much have you spent so far in relation to Ejapa?
I'll get the exact figure, but it should be circa, should be around 12 million. 12 million? Yes.
Dollars?
$12 million, right? $12 million.
Okay.
Yes.
Which is
Now, another issue that came up today is the government's inability to pay Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, over $23 million 17 years after the sale of Western Telesystems, Westel. Now, James Aveji joins us with some details via Zoom. James, it came out that this $23 million is just a portion of long-term debt the government of Ghana and other agencies owe the GNPC. Tell us more.
Yes, Brace. So this is part of a total of some $208 million owed by the government of Ghana itself, the Ministry of Finance, the Ghana National Gas Oil, as well as the Tamale Oil Refinery. Now, this $23 million in question is the share of GNPC in then Westel, which was a telecommunications network, sold to another company, then later acquired by Zain Group, turned into Airtel, then Airtel Tigo to in present days, which is actually been under negotiations for sale. So at the time, government sold its 75% share in Westel, which amounted to some $120 million. And part of that money, which is the $23 million, was supposed to be given to GNPC, who also held some amount of share in that. That is the money since 2007. Government is yet to give back to GNPC as part of their shares in the sale of that telecommunications network.
Now, there was also the concern over a $29.5 million disbursement from the Petroleum Holding Fund. How did GNPC explain this payment?
Brace, if you would remember, when this whole energy sector debt conversation came up, there was a conversation, government brought up a conversation, including the ECG on the need to renegotiate part of the deals agreed with the independent power producers, which is the take-or-pay part of the agreement. Now, the GNPC noted that when this agreement was reached, when government decided to abrogate the take-or-pay part of this agreement, the IPPs at the time had incurred some costs, that is somewhere 2021, 2022. And so they had to make this payment at the time to avoid any form of a judgment debt in the future and all of that. And so they had to use this $29 million, which they captured in the Auditor General's report as unclarified payment to fray off the debt actually incurred by these IPPs when government decided to abrogate the take-or-pay. So that's the cost the take-or-pay abrogation brought to the government of Ghana, Grace.
All right, thank you very much. That's James Aveji there. Now to other stories. Females in the Savannah region of Ghana, we understand are the most fertile for childbirth, accounting for 5.8% of total fertility rate in the country. We have more of this story later in the bulletin. Now we'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll have details on the story and more. Welcome back from the break. Now, residents of Duaponko and Kwaman are among communities in the Efija Kwabre North District of the Ashanti region who have had to battle Buruli ulcer as a result of challenges in accessing good quality water. They are therefore excited at the installation of a new mechanized borehole to ease their plight. The intervention from Pecan Energies Ghana Limited in collaboration with the Buruli Ulcer Victims Aid Buva Foundation will supply clean water to over 1,500 inhabitants. Here's a report by Clinton Yeboah.
Ghana is the second most endemic country of Buruli ulcer in the world, affecting more than 5,000 people. Buruli ulcer is a neglected tropical disease which thrive in warm, humid environments like those found in the Duaponko community. Some of the communities in the Efija Kwabre North District risk drinking and using stagnant streams and pools, which are a perfect breeding ground for the bacteria. This stream is one of the streams that serve about 2 communities, including the Duaponko community. Residents say that they have no choice but to use this water as their only source of water for as long and as many years that they can remember. This means that they overlook the security as well as the health complications of this stream.
This is what we have been drinking. Unfortunately, we have to share this with roaming animals. We understand the infection, yet we have to share it with them.
We have been drinking from the ground, despite the rampant potential diseases. Emmanuel Saka, president and founder of the Buruli Ulcer Victims Aid Foundation, says aquatic insects identified in some streams in the area expose residents to infection. He indicated the urgency of the situation influenced him to seek assistance from Pecan Energies Ghana Limited.
I approached Pecan Energy Ghana for some time ago, and together, today, we have brought some hope and happiness to the people of Duaponko and its surrounding villages. If you look at the stream over here, this was the water the people of Duaponko and the people were drinking. And as you can see, some aquatic insects. As we believe in disease prevention and treatment, once you limit children access to water bodies like this, you are also limiting their access to infection to several diseases, especially like Buruli ulcer. I know that through Pecan Energy, we've provided them a clean water, which I know will help them to reduce a lot of waterborne diseases.
Pecan Energies Ghana Limited sponsored the installation of a borehole, provided 3,500 test kits for yarns and 15,000 antibiotics to help fight the Buruli ulcer diseases. Edward Aye, who represented Ms. Khadija Amwa, the CEO of Pecan Energies, says the project forms part of its corporate social responsibility, which will create a huge impact on the inhabitants of Duaponko.
This project is very critical to Pecan Energies. As I indicated, it forms part of the pillars
of corporate social responsibility, which includes our education, health, livelihood, and infrastructure. We received this request, and having assessed it, we realized that it will create a big impact in the health of the people. I mean, it's one of the key communities that would fall outside our special communities in which we operate, because we are basically operating from the Western region, but we believe in Ghana.
Reporting for Joy News, Clinton Yabwa.
Now, the Ghana Statistical Service has revealed that 85% of women who use family planning, including emergency contraceptive, do not discuss with health personnel and hospitals before use. This is contained in the latest Ghana Demographic Report on Fertility and Family Planning released by the Ghana Statistical Service. This report also identified that there are other regions that use uncontrolled childbirth during the period under review. More of that shortly, but first, let's share with you what the Ghana Statistical Service has put together on this. Now, it says that in 1988, if you look at the fertility rate in Ghana, that trended from 1988 coming, 6.4%, it dropped to 5.2%, and then it came to 3.9% in 2022. Now, the survey also revealed more educated women are pushing their childbirth to their 40s. And here again is the Deputy Government Statistician, Dr. Faustina Frimpong in Angwa.
And again, good news for Ghana. It seems that within Ghana, our trend, the hip, is on 25 to 29. And so what we call is the late fertility. Early fertility is when you see it occurring at 20 to 24. And then broad is when it spreads from 24 even up to 34. By age 40, people are wrapping up. And then the 45 plus them, sometimes it's a pension baby, it's a mistake, or somebody who throughout their life has never had a child and therefore will go all length to be able to get one. And so Ghana is pushing to late fertility. So we are delaying our fertility of having the much bulk of us giving birth very early in the life cycle.
But what does this really mean for the country? Let's get on to the phone at the Zoom now and speak to someone who knows about this. Professor Eugene Date is Professor of Social Dimensions of Sexual and Reproductive Health of the Department of Population and Health, University of Cape Coast. Prof, I'm grateful for joining us here. Must we be worried? Prof, kindly unmute so we can hear what you're telling us.
Yeah, good evening to your cherished listeners and viewers. I think that we must be worried about this trend because, like the Deputy Statistician said, the most appropriate time is between the early 20s, finishing around age 34, because evidence shows that pregnancy after age 35 is a risky pregnancy. And so if women are going as far as 40 before giving birth, then it comes with a lot of challenges.
So if that's the case, then what must we do to change the trend?
Well, I think that if you look at urbanization and development and the time, how much time women are spending in school, it's very difficult to really get women giving birth in the early 20s. This late fertility that we're talking about, or childbirth that we're talking about, exposes the woman to risks such as preeclampsia, high birth weights or low birth weight in some cases. And most of these women are likely to experience ectopic pregnancies and miscarriage and other things. These pose a lot of risk to the woman. To ensure that we can have our women deliver early or give birth early, we need to find a way to encourage them to have their fertility behavior side by side with the pursuit of career or education. Because really, if you want to wait, if you look at how much time we spend in school, people are coming out of school post around 25 years. You want to work, you want to settle, and you want to advance in your career. Really, you don't have the time to engage in childbirth. But do we want to continue like this? I think that the advice would be to let women take breaks between their pursuit of education and career and attend to these very essential family life needs.
Interesting.
But if they don't, they're exposing themselves to a lot of risks, and they're exposing the young ones also to a lot of risks. The risks do not come to only the women who are giving birth, but also to the children who are being born. Some of these children, like I said earlier on, would have challenges with their weight. Some would even have some chromosomal abnormalities, which, in essence, will create a lot of challenges for our future population.
All right. Prof, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Now,
Thank
let's
you very
still stay
much.
with the
Yes.
health sector, because the World Health Organization is blaming the alarming rate of maternal mental health disorders in Ghana on the lack of policies to protect such vulnerable groups. This comes on the heels of a study by the World Health Organization, which indicates that about 50 to 57% of pregnant women and mothers in Ghana experience clinical depression during and after childbirth. 13% of this figure who experience severe depression end up committing suicide. Rejoice Semefa Besu has more in the following report.
Globally, about 10% of pregnant women and 13% of women who have just given birth experience some form of mental disorder, primarily due to depression. Some of these mothers are compelled to commit suicide in severe cases. According to the World Health Organization, about 50 to 57% of women in Ghana suffer from maternal mental health issues, with depression being the most common case. Lead consultant for the World Health Organization on Maternal Health Dissemination Project, Dr. Promise Sefoga, attributed the prevalence of the disorder due to a lack of screening and policy.
So when a woman is pregnant, her body produces a lot of hormones that help her to go through the stress of pregnancy. Two of them we call estrogen and progesterone. So these hormones help to stimulate what we call feel-good factors in the woman, so that she is okay to cope with the stress of pregnancy. After delivery, when the placenta comes out, the estrogen and the progesterone levels drop. But it's the same time that new baby stresses come up. So the woman who is predisposed begins to suffer anxiety, what we call postpartum blues, what we call perinatal depression, where she feels low in energy, unhappy. And the most severe form is what we call postpartum psychosis. Some of them get so severely depressed that they commit suicide. Suicide is just a sign of severe depression. In the very severe cases of postpartum psychosis, the woman feels that there is something about to happen to my baby, which is more terrible than the baby dying. And as a result of that sensation, they kill the baby. Unfortunately, our health system does not have provisions for screening. So from what I've said, these disorders can happen to anybody. What is needed is for us to pick it up early, or pick the warning signs. Then we do very little to avert major complications, and that is what is lacking. In Ghana, for now, we do not do routine screening for pregnant women.
Now, the dream of every Ghanaian parent is to see their children through school and guide them to become responsible adults in future. But that is not the case of Emmanuel Saka, who lost his dad at a young age and has fended for himself ever since. The brilliant senior high school graduate who dreams of becoming a medical doctor someday now finds himself on the streets of Accra, working 2 jobs to cater for himself and save some to further his education. My colleague Kenneth Jesse has more of him in this report.
The traffic jam in most of Accra's busy highways usually frustrates commuters, as long productive hours are wasted in traffic on a daily basis. But that is where some traders also earn a living. They showcase their items to commuters when the gridlock starts to build, and sometimes chase after moving cars when a passenger tries to purchase an item just when traffic begins to ease. 24-year-old Emmanuel Saka is one of such people. The SHS graduate works 2 jobs, selling plantain chips in traffic and recording the number of imported cars that have just been retrieved from their containers at the Tema Harbour.
I just completed SHS, that's 2021. So this is what I normally do to earn some money, because You can't just be in a house, or you can't just go and steal. As a man, you need to work. You need to, find something to do so that you get something for yourself. As well as having a family to, most of the times, your parents may need some help from you so that you can also help. So some would say it's hard, but we are able to go through Christ.
Emmanuel, who originally comes from the central region of Ghana, lost his father at a young age. He moved to Accra to seek for a better future. Not knowing anyone in the capital, Emmanuel lived in a rented kiosk as it was the cheapest form of accommodation he could afford. He now lives at the church he worships, with a dream of becoming a doctor someday. Emmanuel is saving some of the monies he earns from his 2 jobs to further his education.
It's my dream of becoming a doctor, and I know that will take a long way in the school, but as long as I was able to pass well, at any moment I will be able to go to school. It's not easy, so I just have to take time, then plan well and save as well, so that if I'm able to enter, I may not go through difficulties in terms of any money issues or any stuff. So I've lost my dad, and my mom is alive in the central region. So I stay in a church. No, let's say that was last year. I was staying in Accra here at some place, so I got the chance to stay at the church. That was what I really could.
Emmanuel explains how he is able to combine 2 jobs.
I work at Tamale. It's a shift work, so you go for day 1 week, night 1 week, then you go for off. So when I'm on night, the daytime too, I used to sell something. So when I'm in the morning, that's when I don't come here to sell. So it's night and then off. That's what I get time to sell this.
Emmanuel Saka performed very well in his WASI exams. He had 6 A's, 1 B, and a pass. He remains hopeful that he'll make it someday, so he can take care of his mother and siblings and further his education to become a medical doctor who will help save lives. Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
What a story. Wish him all the best for the future. Well, this is still Joy News Prime. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with Showbiz. Please stay. Well, welcome back from the break. Let's do Showbiz now. And Becky Bex is here in all her glory. Hi.
Hello to you, Brace. How you doing?
I'm well.
I'm fantastic too. This evening, let's go straight and talk about the Awake experience with Diana Hamilton. You know that
it's this weekend, huh?
Yeah, it's this weekend. So ahead of this particular event, it's actually the 10th anniversary of holding this particular event. So ahead of the event, she paid a courtesy call on Dr. Mensa Otabil.
Oh.
Yeah, right there. Just so that he can, she's literally inviting him.
I think it's being held at his church.
It's being held at his church. Yeah. Yes, you know
that's
the
my
church, right?
That's my church.
That's
too.
your church. Oh, then we have something in common. Also, she also paid a courtesy call on the housing minister, Senso Kwashi, and hopefully he's also going to be attending the event. We're having all these people coming through for the Awake Experience
and
2024.
Then our own Israel Lai.
Oh yeah, we saw that online. Also, Honorable Kojo Ponkroma will be attending the event as well. We paid a courtesy call on the minister, and he's promised that he will be attending the event and will be supporting Diana entry Hamilton. So that's it about the awake experience with Diana Hamilton. But if you're looking for something to do tomorrow, your superstation Joy 99.7 FM is making this year's Valentine's Day celebration a memorable one for some distinguished people in love. One lucky listener of Joy FM will propose to the love of his life in a cozy and serene environment in the presence of family and friends at an event. That proposal on Joy. We have the Joy FM Programs Manager Adam Naite talking to us about exactly what to expect tomorrow.
We are expecting love, beauty, and a lot of affection. And I have been saying, if you follow that, I haven't attended any of these before, and my husband obviously didn't propose like that as well. He did something, but not all these beautiful ones. So I'm looking forward to, witnessing it myself. And so there are so many expectations around, and we're praying and hoping that it goes well.
So when you move from Labadi Beach Hotel, you can make your way to the Grand Arena, because Kwabena will be hosting the Love Night with Kwabena. And this time he has Becca on the bill. My colleague Ibrahim Bembako spoke to them at a rehearsal, and here is what to expect.
Think of 14th February, and Kwabena comes to mind, because every eve on 14th of February, he entreats lovers to wonderful, beautiful songs from his repertoire. And this year, he's added Becca to the Vitamilk Love Night concerts. What inspired Kwabena to add Becca?
I wanted a new vibe to it. Apart from the fact that I wanted a new vibe, I also saw the need to bring my sister into this, because after we released You Lied to Me 16 years ago, every time we've done concerts and she's just come on to support me, or I've come on to support her. But then both of us have not put together an event ever before. So
how does Becca feel about the night?
It's going to be much better. Because remember, there's going to be lights, there's going to be stage, there's going to be proper sound, there's going to be all the acoustics, there's going to be dancers, there's going to be Becca, there's going to be Kwabena, there's going to be a lot of people, and the most important thing is going to be audience. We're not who we are without our audience.
If you're looking for a reason to be at the Grand Arena, this is what Kwabena has for you.
The reason is standing right in front of you. When last did you see us perform You Lied to Me? And when last did you see Becca perform on stage? You know what I mean? And guess what? It's going to be my very first ever, concert at the Grand Arena.
So you see him, he is, preparing for tomorrow. For those of you who have lovers, who have fallen in love, some of us.
You haven't?
Well, I'll be there, but not because I'm in love. Maybe I'll find somebody there. I don't know. I really don't know. But to make you fall in love, we're continuing our love classics. Today's Tuesday, and we're bringing you something from Ghana. We're recommending you something from Ghana. It's Ghana's 1993 hit movie, Matters of the Heart. If you still don't know how to fall in love, this will make you fall in love. Well, those days, if you watch this and you know that you're in love, you have to be at the park, you have to, pretend. Why do we do that, though? If you want to hug the person, just hug the person.
No, love is
but this movie made us fall in love back in the
love
days.
is something else.
Yeah.
You cannot explain.
How did you fall in love with your wife, though?
I remember. She was a very quiet girl in our area, very reserved, very pretty, and always going about her mother's chores.
Abigail, are you listening?
Yeah. And that, I got attracted to how quiet and reserved she was, and she was kind of my taste. So, It was a natural thing.
Oh, I'm blushing.
See you.
Oh, yeah, this is a fantastic story.
Well, that's how. Oh, Becky. That's how we wrap up today's bulletin. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. Up next is Prime Business with Emma Davis.
We love you.